everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's in the Tube, or welcome back if this is your 20th and final Walker Season 2 episode review. It's the end of the season, the end of our second Walker season. Thankfully, we'll be back for 3 this fall. I ended last week's review questioning how the hell were they going to wrap up everything from season 2 into one episode. I honestly felt like, okay, they're gonna pierce some of the Davison sons into season 3. There's just no way. Plus, of course, this other looming threat that Miles and the other captain were involved with. Like, if you're gonna factor that in, like, you make for a pretty overstuffed finale that's still 44 minutes on your standard television broadcaster. So I went into it like there's got to be some carryover to season 3. I'm very thankful they carried over the right stuff into season 3. I felt like it would have been, even on Walker's standard 2 rush, for them to wrap up everything. The core of this episode wrapped up the Walker-Davison conflict mostly for good. I still think they leave the door open for what potential avenues they could take the family relationships next, in whether that will be a season 3 or beyond. But for mostly with this episode, they did such a great job wrapping up the core of season 2, but giving you enough hints and teases and questions. I think this season ends with more questions and expectations for next season than when we were in this position from season 1 going into season 2. I'm still very finicky on what the I don't rank these seasons, to be honest, right now, because we're still too new into the show. I would say both season 1 and season 2 have their advantages from each other. I won't say one is better than the other, because each one of them has their own pros and cons, in my opinion, that makes it stand out from the rest. Overall, everything's great, but for this finale, they did such a great job of wrapping it up, giving us a very sense of, like, this is the closing of one chapter, but the next chapter is really just getting written, and I can't wait to see where they're going to take things when we come back this fall for season 3. In the words of, sadly, an old producer that I will not say his name on camera for, they definitely set the seas for part 3 of the story whenever that comes out this fall. So, but anyway, with that being said, let's go through the Butcher recap and talk about the finale to Walker Season 2. So we begin, we're having a Walker breakfast, trying to get the family back together. It's also Stella's final day as a senior. She's about to graduate officially. It's a big day for the Walkers, despite everything that's going on, with the Davisons. Like, last week's dinner did not achieve the results they were hoping for. It did come up with some developments, but it wasn't getting the results they were hoping for. But nevertheless, it's still a good day to be alive. Still a good day for Stella, as she's starting to plan out her future. And, regardless of whatever's going on, it's a happy occasion. It really is. But however, they're still thinking about, like, trying to get the ranch back, and they know that they have a feeling it's Grandma Davison, which I finally remember her name is Denise. So they have a feeling that she's the one who cut the saddle, and they just need to get her the final confirmation. Or was it Gail? Oh, no, Denise was the DA. Gail was the mom. I forgot. I got those two mixed up. So that's the working theory, but of course without any sort of verbal confirmation. They don't really have a case for anything, so they're kind of still in the blank about that. Walker gets called over to meet Jerry at the side stool, so he heads out over there, wishing Stella a good last day of school. We are back to the Ranger HQ, where James and Cassie are neck deep into the whole investigation into whatever Miles and that other captain got themselves into. They know the shooters from last week's attack were ex-military. So they're, for my logical sense, like, why not contact Trey, because he's ex-military too. Maybe he kind of knows a couple of them. Maybe gives a decent profile. Maybe find some sort of link between them. But considering the fact that Miles and the captain were really hush tight about this whole thing, they don't want to risk this getting involved with anyone else right now. Like, only authorized personnel at the moment. And since Trey's not even worked with the Rangers yet, then he's definitely on the out. So. Which actually is coincidental timing, since Trey just shows up to kind of maybe help out with the case. But Captain James puts him back into place, just saying, like, you know what, it's fine. It's Ranger business now. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it from here. But James is still, like, trying to, like, make himself useful and trying to make himself feel like, yeah, I could still help. Like, exactly what I just said. The ex-military connection, everything. James thinks that once again as another sure confirmation for him that, like, yeah. So I made some calls with the top brass, and they're willing to exchange your military experience for credentials to make you an official Texas Ranger. So forget about the psych position. You're gonna be in the top brass with us. And as much as James is like honored by it, he's still taken aback since like, he was already getting used to like, okay, I'll leave the school full time to be part of the Rangers in terms of just like as their psych console. But now to join in as an official Ranger is a whole different step. It's like, it's kind of like, jumping back into the action, not in like the international, wartime sense, but just still like, you're still on high alert each and every day. So he needs some time to think about that as well, since that's another big career decision move on top of just the last two we was just thinking of weeks prior. So then we cut over to the, no, we don't get to the school yet. So, yeah, Cordell and Jerry are at the side stool. They're just talking about, what Jerry overheard from Gail during the dinner episode, and that like, there was probably some suspect feelings that like, yeah, Gail probably knew about Jerry being alive and being her daughter way before the revelation, and it kind of gets a little scary because like, it's like, well, if she's hiding that as a secret, what else is she hiding? Like, forget about the side, like, there's still a lot of unanswered questions. So, and obviously they're still focused on trying to get the ranch back. So Cordell tasked Jerry like a Walker cannot get this information out of a Davidson right now, considering the conflict. But if a Davidson can go in there and try and get the information, then they have a chance. So they agree. They decide to make a plan to try and like get the information from Gail somehow. The rest of the Walker family, Grandpa, Grandma Walker, Liam are just sitting by the temp house, just chilling, just taking a chill out. They don't have jobs. Cordell's paying the bills, Liam's savings, and the family saving. That's all that's keeping them alive right now, and they're just trying to figure out like what is next for them. Ranch aside, they got to start thinking of like what is the future of the Walker family without the ranch, without the home, and it's still difficult to see. It's still very difficult to imagine that, since they at least had the legacy of the ranch behind them, but now at the current moment it's gone. Like they have to start thinking of elsewhere, and Liam also not having his law career anymore to kind of like fall back on. It's kind of scary times, like to be so late into your life and kind of be uncertain on what the future holds. Now again, the future is always going to be uncertain. There's never going to be a sense of comfortability, because at any point your life can just get turned upside down. It really can come whenever it wants to. But they're still upbeat about, they're just going to try and get through Stella's graduation and just focus on that later. They'll focus on everything else later on. Speaking of which, we cut over to the school having their in-house graduation ceremony. So I guess there's the private ceremony and then there's the public ceremony. Like, because I'm watching this scene, I'm like, yeah, I know COVID restricted some things, but like, bro, this ain't a graduation ceremony like at all. Like, they're all still wearing their uniforms, and it just doesn't feel legitimized. And yeah, it's also good to see Stella and damn, I forgot his name. The Davison kid. Damn, I forgot his name. It's gonna come back to me at any point. But yeah, so they're still together. They're still strong. Even Stella's ex-boyfriend's like kidding around, joking around with them. It's like, yeah, I'll still be with her next year, but like as a friend, and just being jealous, and their share time together being like a dum-dum or whatever their in jokes are. August is watching from a distance, even though he's not supposed to be there to support his sister. He's with James, who's not James, Troy, who's just kind of like letting him like slide over, and they're talking about like now that Stella's heading out the door and she's heading off on her next venture next fall. That what does that leave for August? Since August might be a ladies player now, but he doesn't have that much of a support system anymore. Because back in season 1, I feel like that was his strongest support system. Having his friends, having that girl he was pining for, his sister. Even this season was kind of like him just trying to play the field, but still having Stella and the other Davison kid as kind of like a comfort zone for him. Those elements being removed, it partakes the question of, can August really survive school by himself? Like, it's always a scary feeling when like your friends that are older than you, that are graduating, hang out the door. Like, normally you would have friends your own age, your own grade, but it's still that scary feeling. Like, what if school looked like without them roaming the hall, with them going to the next step of their career? So that is something that I can completely understand from him. And even August is saying like, well, you're still here next year to kind of help me get my shit straight. And James can't. I don't know. I keep confusing the two. Trey still giving a very indecisive, like, yeah, I'll be there. Still trying to be vague about him leaving and everything. So, but we'll plug into that later. So now we head back over to the side stool where, for some reason, Cordell and Jerry having a fight about, just stuff pertaining to the recent weeks. Gail comes in to kind of pick her up, and they're Walker and Jerry getting very heated on the argument. They're getting into like really supposed dangerous topics, and Gail pulls her Jerry away to head back to the ranch. And it seems like this was all cool. This was all planned to like get Jerry to like have the foundation to get into this conversation zone with Gail once they got back to the ranch. I'm trying to remember if there was anything else that happened particularly. I know there's a scene where James is calling. Oh, I keep getting them confused. Where Trey is calling his mom up about the potential job, and he's moving into his apartment, which, yeah, very much is a big of a downgrade to the house he and oh my Mickey had before, which I understand there was two incomes coming in, but hey, look, he was able to support it for a couple months after she was gone, so it's not impossible, but I understand the fresh start thing, and but his mom's still worried about him actually considering the position, since she was always scared a lot when he was off on tours, because she never knew if she was gonna get the letter that he never came back home, or he was gonna get she was gonna get the I think they still do. I gotta ask my friend. He's in the military right now. That the fellow officers come by to just let her know in person. I don't know if they still do that, but she was always scared about that. And when he told her, yeah, I'm gonna stay in Texas. I'm gonna move in with my girlfriend. Have a stable 9 to 5 life. She was like very happy, but the fact that he might be jumping back into the action, it doesn't make her happy, because she's just gonna be a scared mom again. Like, as much as it's different being a ranger and a soldier, they're still very similar. Like, you're putting your life on the line there, so to do what's right. So she's still worried about that. Troy notices some loud music coming out of his hallway. He heads outside, and he finds Cassie, of all people, who is also lives in the same apartment building. Which I'm like, bruh. So you're either going to imply these two are going to be best friends, or they're going to fuck. I'm sorry for being brass there. I know it's a TV 14 show, but first of all, tomorrow's in the world of television, like, well, today in the time of this recording, like, the whole fucking internet is going to go crazy with another thing, which I'm only giving big hints about. But in this case, in this here specifically, why are these two coincidentally in the same apartment building? Both two very single people, and you never know what's gonna happen. They have a good dynamic. They never properly threw out, and maybe I'm just thinking like, oh, she's an attractive female and he's an attractive male, and they're both single. They have to be together at some point. Maybe yes, maybe no. We don't know entirely. So their apartment mates, or what do they call, floor mates or whatever. Cassie's all dressed up for some weird reason. I've never seen her dress up before. She's going on a date, since this is the first time she's went out and tried to be actively dating since becoming a ranger, and even before then, just in general. So she wants to put herself back out there. So she heads out on her date. Bar date, that's not my style. If I'm going on a date, I'm going for dinner, nice walk in the park, the classic cliche stuff. No movies, though. I learned that the hard way. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, so she's on the date. It seems to be going well, but once they get to the point of their occupation, it's a little bit weird out, since this guy was able to, like, first of all, they didn't even tell each other what they worked as, and he mentioned to guess like, yeah, you're in law enforcement or something like that, because you're very secretive, and Jared's like, you're the same thing, like, you kind of look like ex-military or something like that. And yeah, the conversation gets very sus. He backs out to go to the bathroom, but then the bartender's like, oh no, he dipped for the door. So it wasn't that the date wasn't going well, it was just there was a underlying feeling that something was wrong here, and Cassie was also right about that. So we're back over at the former Walker Ranch, now Davidson Ranch, and Gail's trying to comfort Jerry, like, don't worry about them, don't worry about the Walkers. They've always been pieces of crap. Now you know what we have been dealing with for generations. But Jared brings to the point, like, yeah, I get that, like, I am a Davidson now, but I don't really get to know really too much about my actual birth, my biological dad. So she tries to bring up the conversation with her about just everything, and Gail's trying to be very selective with her words here, and eventually gets too emotional for her, and she has to back out, and as a defense mechanism. So Jerry's only solution is, well, in order to break down the defense mechanism, we have to bring her back to a very critical scene of our life, i.e. the burned farm, which is, well, the burned ranch, which is now becoming rebuilt. So they head over there, And she's like, yeah, she's still using the guys like, I need to know about my dad. I need to know about him. I need to know everything about him to fully understand him since he's not here anymore. And slowly but surely, we're starting to get slow pieces about like, just everything. And so the complete story is, and first of all, this is my only con with the episode. It's like, you're expecting me to believe that in this one particular night, three major things have happened. Number one, what was number one? Damn, I forgot what number one was. So number one, so Cordell and Denise were romantically interested in each other. They were watching Comet at this exact same moment. Number two, that a bunch of people that worked for. I want to say if this is where I have to rewatch the episode. The whole like side story where this is where we kind of figured out like how Jerry's connected with the Daversons and her relation with everything. The same night where like they break into the ranch for the secret money stash, and then also during this time period there's a fight between Marv and Gail about tempers lashing out, their usual fights, and then also the fact that he reveals that our daughter's alive. I didn't tell you for 12 years because I was scared that we were now ready to have a second daughter. Like we were now ready to have to raise two kids. We were barely surviving with just one of them. And at first Gail was like kind of taking it in slowly, and then she reacted like a lot of people would react. She grabbed the lantern and bashed him in the head with it. And then the lantern, the kerosene and the fire kind of exploded. And considering the fact that this was all wood structure, it caught on fire. Gail didn't really know what to do, so she ran out, effectively, not just killing him. Well, I'm pretty sure not killing, just knocking him out with a concussion, but the fire and then him burning alive probably did him in. And then that's kind of where we get all caught up. So Gail was the one who started the fire for real life. Yes, Cordell brought the lantern in, and he forgot it. But let's just say to that point, but she was the one who actually, did the crime, and she's still trying to play like I forgot the terminology for it. She was kind of like, trying to alleviate her conscience by parting the blame onto Cordell. Like, if Cordell wasn't there with Denise that night and had brought his lantern, none of this would ever happen. But at the end of the day, it's like, no, you still had the intention to basically bash your husband's skull out with a freaking item, and then you inadvertently burn down your own fucking ranch. Like, you can't say anything about the kid. Like, yes, maybe you can give him like 5% responsibility, 5%, 10% at most, but you're still the one who committed the action. Like, that's still the case. Like, you didn't even know he was even in there, or he even brought that lantern. So leave that as it may. And Jerry's just kind of taken aback by it, and she was kind of getting worried, and Gail was trying to approach her. Ironically, another lantern on the table, and Jerry was like scared, like, oh, you better not do this to me again. Like, you better not. But she knocks over the lantern, and a fire just blows out very quickly. Jerry manages to get out of it quickly. Cordell, who was trying to get in contact with Jerry for a while, heads over to their site, and he finds the fire there. And I love this scene where we get a flash parallel with Cordell as a kid running to the barn, and then we have adult Cordell also running to the barn. Like, it's such really well done symmetry. I'm not sure if they had that planned out from the beginning, but kudos to them if they actually did, because that was a really well done scene. So Cordell makes it there. Jerry tells him about what happened with Gail and everything. So Cordell comes in. He gets Gail out, and a redemption fashion. Like, he wasn't able to save Marv, even though he wasn't responsible for it, but he was able to save Gail as a result. So she's out. The entire barn is engulfed, and then we cut to the next morning where firefighters are there, the Walker family's there, basically everyone in the families are there just to kind of see the site. My only criticism, it's not going to affect the review of the episode, but my only one thing is that I really hated when, like, I get it, like, it's like, it just happens, like, you can't be talking in every moment, but, like, I didn't particularly like it when you just see Liam and August just standing there like they're important, like, they're just watching the whole scene, like, I don't even know what they're thinking. Honestly, for me, like, I'm just being honest, I hope to God that never happens to me where I'm in that situation, but honestly, my first thoughts is, if I was a kid, I would be asking about breakfast. I'd be asking, when are we going to have breakfast? Why are we sitting in the middle of this burned out, barn? I'm hungry over here. It would be very inappropriate, but I'm just saying that's just something I would totally do. So, everything's out, everything's on the chest now about what Gail did. And, it kind of is like a big closure for the Walkers. Cordell manages to have a word with her about it. Gail's like, apologizing, not just to him, but to to Grandma Walker about like, I'm sorry, like, this is just a bad product of just bad things happening together. And she also deeply apologizes to Grandma Walker for all the conflict they had. She said, I never hated you. I was just envious. I couldn't be you. Like, I couldn't be the woman that Marv loved, that he saw in you. I couldn't be that. So I knew, like, if anything, like, just to do anything to put you down a peg. And that was the same with Denise, because Denise also admits in that moment, like, yeah, I'm the one to cut the saddle, because she was so taken aback that, like, the Walkers still had everything and her family lost everything. And even though Cordell was never officially confirmed to be the person who did this, and especially now, she still carried that remorse against them. And that all this boiled to, like, I need to win. Like, I need to win this race no matter what, because my husband ain't gonna win shit. So I'm gonna do this thing, and we're gonna win. And we had that brief month or so of happiness, and now it's all over. Gail gets sent away to jail to confess and face her charges. Stella and it really sucked. I could not remember his name at the end of this. So I'm very sorry, Davison kid. I had your name in my mind for so many weeks, and today of all days, I just forget. I'm so sorry, man. I'm really. They're just, despite everything, all these now new revelations, it doesn't change anything. They're still in love with each other. They still want to be together. This is only just, hopefully, another step of, like, yeah, we can do this. Like, we can actually move forward and actually try a relationship, without the conflict. Yeah, so the core, the Davison clan, they make up, they kind of make amends. That, like, they made mistakes, and now they can now take this time period to move forward and kind of craft this new beginning for them, which is great to hear, which it really is. Cassie shows up as well, just checking on the Walkers. Everything's fine, but she lets James know, like, yeah, my date last night, I think there's something bigger coming to town that we need to get ready for, because what we got ourselves involved with is very big and very scary at the same time. So there's a lot of on hands on deck questions that we're gonna have to explore when we come back later on. But the good news is that the Walkers do have their ranch back. It's back under their names. Everyone's moving back in. This is not just, a return home, but it's also a new beginning for them, for every member, moving forward. Like, a lot of the past has been dealt with, and now they could just start to move on to see what a future would look like for them. So that's great to hear. And then so afterwards, Cordell and Stella I played a little game, the same game they were playing back in the pilot, that was interrupted once they got wind that Emily died. And this was the first time that they're both playing it since then. And Cordell was being honest there, like, if it wasn't for you, I would never ever even think about playing this game again, because it's just the association with the bad news with it. And Stella agreed, but it was time to, like, maybe try old things again, because they're doing new things, and they're about to go on new beginnings and, like, this new chapter of their lives, that maybe it was time to, like, reopen some items and see what they would look like in the new present. And Cordell gets to a little teary eye about, like, the fact that after Emily passed away, that it was Stella that really was the glue that kept the family together. Like, if it wasn't for Stella, maybe the family would be such in different places right now, but not as united as it is currently. So, which is good to hear. We cut to the next day. It's Stella's actual graduation day. Grandpa Walker and Liam are overlooking the ranch, back to its former glory, sort of. And Liam decides he wants to work on the farm or on the land with his dad, because why not? Honestly, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know how anyone. If any one of my friends were, like, to hear me say, like, I got a law degree, I did law for like a few years, and I'm going to become a rancher, it very is a sudden career change and a very different industry change. But hell, if that's what he wants to do, let him be. It's his life choice at the end of the day. So he doesn't give a confirmation for it, but I'm assuming he's going to say yes. I think I want to remember if there's anything else we're missing before we wrap it all up. No, I think that's it. Yeah. So the last scene of the season is Cordell, Trey, and Liam are about to have a little bit of a race, like calling back to the beginning of the season. Just a fun, casual race while Trey's asking some questions about what does being a Texas Ranger affect you and your social life and your personality. Like, how does it really affect you? And Cordell's not really giving you any direct answers. Like, it's kind of like it just depends on like what you're going to take away from the experience. But of course, Cordell would welcome him any day of the week. To kind of kick some ass together on the field with badges and really cool looking Texas Ranger hats. So to begin the race, Cordell gets a very stupid head start until they're running after him, and he kind of disappears for first. Like, where is Cordell? Like, why isn't he like close by? We briefly see a van leave the distance, and then so Stella in full dress gear takes their the victory hat, and as the other two arrive, but they're wondering, where's Cordell? Like, he should have won. He had that big head start. But they're wondering like, where the hell is she? Where the hell is he? We cut over to the van. He got punched up. He's knocked out, and he's tied up in the middle of a marked van, heading off who knows where. And we have no idea what the hell's going to happen. Cordell is now missing. They basically pull the red crimes on us. If we come back next season and it turns out like, yeah, Cordell's gone, it's a whole new cast. I'm like, no, okay, that's too far gone. But it does definitely leave things in a very precarious situation. That is Cordell going to get out of this? Who the hell is actually, who has him, and how do we get him back? So a lot of questions to be answered that we will save when we come back next season. But that is it for this episode of Walker, this season of Walker, and that was that. For me, I thought this was a great finale. I really did. I think for somehow they tied it all together, the Walker-Davison conflict. It wrapped up really nice, really well done. They still leave the door open to like, what does a new relationship dynamic between them still look like? It didn't imply that Davisons were moving away somewhere, so they're still gonna be in town. So what will their relationship be impacted going forward? That I want to see what's gonna come up of that. And of course, obviously, this whole like this new Fred, like we don't even know anything about these new guys, and it's like that's so strange. It's like I remember when they normally do some sort of like big name drop or like some big revelation or something like that. Like even at the end of season 2, like season 1, we knew like it was the Northsiders. Like they, we knew about that, but like we don't know shit about these guys. And I'm gonna be scared. Like if this is gonna be a big, like a giant ass reveal, which again, there's only 2 seasons of Walker, so I don't think there's really much they can do on this front. Maybe this will be related to the ex-military thing that Cordell mentioned at the end of season 1. Maybe we're finally gonna get that payoff. I really don't know. I'm just really pulling at grass here because I really don't know what they're setting up. I really don't know. It's like the end of Arrow season 3 where like they mentioned, Damien Dark, and it's like next season it's Damien Dark was the villain. Flash season 3 ended with like a DeVoe reference, and the next season is the Thinker, who is also Clifford DeVoe. So it's like it's just weird for me. Like we really don't know much about this next Fred, and it's intriguing, it's scary, it's a little bit worrisome that they're really just going to try and pull something together half-ass next season when we come back around, or they're just really keeping things vague. Who knows what the reason is, but I'm excited for next season. But for this story, this season was about the Walker versus Davison conflict. That was the primary focus. They did their job, and they wrapped everything up in this episode perfectly, and it just leaves room for what a new book in their story could look like. But that's down the road. So for me, I'm going to give this episode 2 thumbs up. I really enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below, what did you think of this finale to Walker in its 2nd season? Let's start that conversation down below. So I believe that's going to do it for me today, everyone. So if you've been unaware, this has been What's the 2 from ActionX, reviewing every Walker Season 2 episodes, which now we've completed. It's all done. Now all 20 episodes have been reviewed. You can check them all on the site. Very bittersweet that it's over, but sometimes the journey has to end. For now, we'll be back. So if you're unaware what's next for us in terms of our well, first of all, we do other stuff on What's the 2. We're also doing our Tom Swift reviews each and every week on Wednesdays after Brain Episodes, on Tuesdays on the CW, so go check them out there. But if you're still a Walker fan, we got some big news for you. We got some big old news. So we're not done yet with this coverage. The season may be over, but we're not done yet. Next week, we'll be doing a season 3 predictions video where I'll be talking about everything I want to see in a potential, well, not potential, in the forthcoming 3rd season of Walker, which will be coming out this fall only on the CW, alongside also, well, we'll get to that in a moment. So we're going to talk about everything there, so get ready for that. So if you want to start speculating what you want to see in season 3, what does a 3rd season look like, let's talk about that, next week. And then the week after that, we'll be doing a season 2 spoiler-free review for everyone who has not yet seen the season yet, which you'll find all the episodes streaming for free on the CW.com and the CW app. So go check that out there. And then we will be back this fall with not just one, but 2 shows in our Walker review universe. We're doing, of course, Walker every season 3 episode review. So if you want to see this journey get picked back up, you'll be back this fall for that. And we're going to be doing every Walker Independence episode review this fall as well. We'll be reviewing all the episodes in the new spin-off show starring Catherine McNabram and the Hoyt's original actor from this show, who's going to be playing Hoyt's ancestor in that show. That's gonna get a little bit finicky in itself, but you know, I'm very excited for that. I really am. But you know, it's gonna be a very fun old time. We're actually going to the Wild Wild West times, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be very, very fun. Will I grow out a mustache? I probably won't, because I can't grow a mustache for crap. So don't worry. What's in the Tube from Action will still be your home for all Walker content going forward for the next couple of weeks, and then also double the time coming back this fall. So stay tuned for all that. There's a lot for you to be excited about. But if you only care about the season 2 episode reviews, this is the end of the road for now. I will see you all again next fall for season 3. I can't wait for that to start up the journey all over again and start a whole new round of reviews. But, you know, I'm glad to be taking a little bit of a summer off. You know, Walker didn't really take much of a break, as many of you know. Like, we only had like a 2-month break. I think this is the first time we're going to take like a while off of Walker. It's weird, because like, it's so weird, because we began Walker, it went all the way to August, and then 2 months later, we kicked right back up with season 2. So it's like, we didn't really get much of a break, you know, but now we're, you know, getting a little bit of like a siesta. You know, the Walker family, they did a lot, the actors and the crew. Like, again, thank you so much for, you know, working so hard on the show. I could only imagine the marathon of 2 seasons, 2 full 20 episode seasons that it probably had done a toll. Like, doing 40 episodes of television is not that easy. But anyway, c'est la vie. That's all I gotta say for now. So again, this has been What's the Tube from ActionX. Please subscribe to us on youtube.com/ActionX videos. Ring that bell for notification when our next review is live. Please also follow us on social media to stay up to date with any sort of updates we may have for either of our channels. But again, this has been our Walker season 2 episode review. Thank you so much for watching. All you Texas Rangers out there, it's been a blast joining you again for another Walker season. We'll be doing this for a 3rd go around later this year. But until then, please enjoy your summers, have fun, do whatever you gotta do. But as always, stay safe out there, be good to each other, and as always, peace out.